Hey, I'm Luke. Here we discover albums that are truly vinyl worthy. In this series, we dive deep into the discographies of various artists, album by album, song by song, in the search for vinyl worthy releases. My criteria for a vinyl worthy album is simple. It must be a collection of tracks that I enjoy from start to finish, with no tracks that I wish to skip. If an artist features in this series, then you can guarantee that at least one of their releases is considered vinyl worthy. Let's jump right into it. Blood Orange is a project of Devonte Hines, a British-American musician, songwriter and producer. Born in London in 1985, now based in New York. At the age of 18, he was part of the group Test Icicles before transitioning to a solo career under the name Lightspeed Champion. In 2011, Dev released his first LP in the Blood Orange project. Dev is also known for scoring films such as Palo Alto and Queen and Slim. I first discovered Blood Orange around 2013 from a YouTube channel that curated new music. I have no memory of what it was called, as it was so short-lived because YouTube's copyright system was just coming into force, and very shortly after we saw the rise of algorithms that would curate music instead for us. Anyways, the channel showcased the song You're Not Good Enough from the album Cupid Deluxe. It immediately sent me looking to hear more from Blood Orange. Before I say too much about the Cupid Deluxe album, let's start with his first release, which is 2011's Coastal Grooves. I would describe it as tonally consistent and mostly minimalistic. As we see, there's a few tracks that I keep, but overall I'm not too into this album. The first track, Forget It, it has a steady, breezy, simplistic arrangement with an enjoyable melody. I enjoy the palm-muted guitar and it has a standout solo. And the next track keeps good continuity with the palm-muted guitar tones, and I love the verses, especially the thick bass on this one. With track 3, I'm Sorry We Lied, I dislike this the more I hear it. It's an obvious skipper. With track 4, the guitar tone reminds me of the song Paper Trails by Darkside. That's a much better song, which I recommend you listen to instead of this really. Track 5, the guitar reminds me of the song Obstacle 1 from Interpol, with the stabby guitar moments. Again, Obstacle 1 is a more interesting song for me that I'd recommend instead of this very forgettable track. Track 6, Complete Failure, is a complete failure to capture my attention. It's very Morricone. I'm not particularly into it, or much of Morricone's music either. Track 7 just about avoids the skip, and that's mostly because I like the ending section of this song. But then tracks 8 and 9 I find overly long and uneventful. Easy skippers for me. But it's a strong finish with Champagne Coast. I really love the unresolving 1-4-2-5 progression on the keys. It really helps drive the tension in this one. Moving on to 2013's Cupid Deluxe, and this is why we're here. I love this album. The production, sound design, songwriting, performances, guest features, they're all pros for me. It's lightning in a bottle, this album. In the same way that Coastal Grooves had a consistent theme, so does Cupid Deluxe, and this one is very reminiscent of the 80s. On track 1 we have Chamake. Caroline Polachek is great on this. She is definitely a standout, and in more recent years she's become quite a prolific solo artist as well, which I have to admit I should probably check out at some point soon. It's an atmospheric track, and she's the highlight. The second track, You're Not Good Enough, is understandably a fan favourite. The riff is such a groove, the chorus is simple but so very effective. We have Samantha Rubani on this track as the female vocalist, and I absolutely love her contributions on all of the songs on this album that she's on. I think she really adds to this album. Again, I see that she has more music that she has contributed towards, including her solo career, that I will most likely be checking out at some point soon. However, she hasn't found quite the commercial success that it seems that Caroline Polachek has. It'll be interesting to figure out if she deserved better. Track 3, it's a solid track, as well as track 4. These are both very solid. One of the moments that stands out for me on track 3 is at around 2 minutes and 51 seconds. The synth sounds very reminiscent of Twin Peaks, with Angelo Badalamenti's score. Clams Casino features on track 4. You may remember him from his hit I'm God. That's a banger. If you haven't heard it, go and do that. Then we're hit with the double whammy with track 5 and 6, It Is What It Is and Chosen. These are two perfect tracks, I cannot fault these. Track 5 is a head bopper for sure, and I love Samantha on this. Track 6, we have Polacek as well as Abani, and the horns remind me so much of Kaput's album Destroyer, which we may get a feature on this channel from eventually, hopefully. Now, I have to admit, I am such a sucker for spoken word monologues by French women in songs. On the credits, it says that the monologue was done by Dossier Brochette. However, it may be that this is a joke name, potentially. Sorry if it's not, but I've heard stories that it was actually Caroline Polachek who did a fake French accent, and they just thought it was great, so they went with that. Yeah, I'm not sure what the actual truth to this is, so if anyone knows, that'd be interesting to figure out. Okay, track 7, Clipped On. So far in the track lineup, this is the weakest so far, but it does freshen things up for me, and I do like Despot's rap. Track 8, Always Let You Down, is an improvement. The bass is excellent, and again, I love Samantha Abani on this, especially on the verses. We have another pillar with track 9, On the Line, yet another track where Samantha Abani is featured. So we also have Adam Bainbridge. His contributions are very much welcomed for me also. It's got a great intro on the keys. I love the unison vocals between the three of them. The key beds are also a favourite of mine on this track too. Alright, track 10, High Street. If any track had to go, it would be this one, but it's not an outright skipper. I like Skepta's performance, I just find the track to be the weakest, and this track does stand out for me for not quite fitting in with the rest of the album. But the final track lifts this album right back up for a super strong finisher with Time Will Tell. This is like the cousin to It Is What It Is. I love the melody on the keys towards the end, and Tawia is fantastic on the vocals too. I've listened to this album quite a few times over the years since first discovering it, and it absolutely holds up for me. Next up we have 2016's Freetown Sound, and after quite a few attempts at getting into this album, the skippers really just don't click with me, and there's not much I will say on them really. However, there's a few tracks I enjoy, starting with Best to You. We have a vocal feature by Lorelei Rodriguez, also performs under the name Empress of. Her feature works perfectly. It's the production choices that make this a pillar, in particular the percussion. EVP has a very strong start. It's funky as hell with the synth and the bass and the spoken word verse. However, the rest doesn't quite live up to it though, which is why I kept it just as a keeper. The next track is a pillar though, with Love Ya. I love the lush, sparse arrangement, and the horns are so good on this. But You is a very strong keeper, the chorus being the standout. Track 10, Hands Up, is another strong keeper. It reminds me of Matty Healy with the vocals on the verses on this. The final track that I keep from this album is track 14, Better Than Me. It's a strong chorus that makes this a keeper for me. Next up is Negro Swan. This did not connect with me, however I do like track 9, Chewing Gum. It's the definition of chill, not in the needing life support kind of way, like there's still a pulse. Speaking of pulse, Angel's Pulse. This mixtape is an easy skip in its entirety for me. So that has us up to date with all of Blood Orange's releases. Dev has shown that the Blood Orange project has the potential for me to find plenty of enjoyment from. However, it's been 10 years since Cupid Deluxe, and he may have long moved on from producing music of a similar nature. I'll still keep a watch out for his new releases, but I don't have positive expectations. Thanks for watching this episode. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. Drop me a comment on where you agree or disagree, or share something interesting that I may have missed. Alright, peace and love, bye 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 bye.